أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. We started off with the different categories of najasat, of impurities, that which is clean, unclean and dirty. And just to recap, we said there are 14 categories that ulama agree on. All in agreement with that 14 categories, and they are as follows. All dead land animals, except the ones in the sea. Then we said any blood gushing out and laying, if you slaughter the sheep and the blood that is there, it is considered najis. We said the meat or flesh of khinzir, of the pig and the swine and so on, that as well. Number 4 and 5, we said the urine of the human race, as well as the feces or the popos, that's also considered najis. We also said madhi, and madhi is the fluid that is expressed before semen is ejaculated, and that is also considered najis. And then we said wadi, and wadi we said is a urinary tract infection, and specifically on the men. And then we also said that the manure and the urine of all animals that we do not eat. And number 10, the meat of animals that we are not allowed to eat. We had quite an explanation there, and one of that was the donkey. And number 11, anything that is cut off from a live animal. Any piece of meat that is cut off from a live animal is considered najis. And then number 12, 13, and 14 is the blood of haid, as well as the blood of nifas, and the blood of al-istihadah, when there is a medical problem as far as the ladies are concerned. Now we come to the category where ulama differ in terms of is it najis, is it not najis. And the first and second that we go to that is the urine, as well as the manure or dung or droppings of animals that we eat. We find that Al-Imam Ahmad ibn Muhammad ibn Hanbal, and then Muhammad wa Zafar of the Ahnaf, radiallahu ta'ala anhum, whenever you hear of the Hanafi madhab, there are two alims that stand out, and you will always hear Muhammad and Zafar. They are from the Hanafi madhab. And then ulama from the Shaf'i madhab, they all declare that the urine and the manure from animals that we eat is clean. Is clean. How did they get to that? They take the dalil from a hadith in Al-Bukhari and Muslim, and Anas radiallahu ta'ala anhu, قال قدم أناس من أقل أو أرينة فاجتووا المدينة فأمرهم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بلقاح أن يشربوا من أبوالها وألبانها. Right, they take the hadith of this people, they came to Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara. The climate didn't agree with them, so they became sick. And in order to help them, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam sent them to a particular place, a shepherd, and this shepherd has what is called in the English term mulch, M-I-L-C-H, milch, she-camels, meaning that these are animals that are kept for their milk. And the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam ordered that they drink from the milk and they drink from its urine, and it cured them. and it cured them. So on the basis of this hadith, these ulama says that animals that we eat from, that their urine and their manure is not najis. It is not impure. Just to add to that story, just so that you have a background on that story with the ones that came to Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara, after they had been cured, they killed the shepherd and they killed the animals and they ran away. Remember, it was strangers that came to Al-Madinah Al-Munawwara. They became sick. The Nabi sent them to the shepherd. He then gives them the milk, gives them the urine to drink. They're all fine and whatever. But who's going to know that you have an enemy in the midst? And the Nabi had sent the Sahaba after them, and they found them and they were dealt with severely. Then, amongst the Shafi'iyya and the Hanafiyya, who says that all urine and all manure from all animals are all najis. Now, how did they get to that? They narrate the hadith that we are very much familiar with, Abdullah ibn Abbas, and the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam marra biqabr qabrain. فقال إنهما لا يعذبان وما يعذبان في كبير أما أحدهما فكان لا يستبرئ من البول وأما الآخر فكان يمشي بالنميمة. You know the famous hadith where the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had passed two qabrs and then said that these two are being punished in their qabr. But they are not punished for something that was not difficult to avoid. It was easy to avoid it. One of them was not careful when he urinated, so the urine went onto his clothes and his body. And we know if the urine goes onto your clothes and your body, there's no salah. The salah is not valid. Right? And the other one, al-akhar kana yamshi bin namimah. The other one used to go around, and it was a norm of him to slander people. To slander people and to gossip about people. Now on the dunya, get the other mic. Stand up. On the dunya, you can possibly get away with slandering and gossiping about people and no one will know or whatever. But in the akhirah, all of these things will count. All of these things will count. So therefore, sometimes one feels like, this person is getting away with things on the dunya. There's nobody that can stop him. And in actual fact, I sit in mediation arbitration at the MCC. And then sometimes people say, yeah, but they're just carrying on. What's happening? And he goes on like this and this, whatever the case may be. It's never lost by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You must remember that. It's never lost by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A person will be responsible for every word that you utter. You will be responsible by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For every action that you do, you will be responsible to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For every wrong that has been done, you are responsible by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So therefore, in one hadith, and I'm trying not to go off the topic, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, make amends while you're on the dunya, while you're alive. Make amends. Because Allah will give the person haq whom we have taken from. So therefore, when the other group of the Shafi'i and the Hanafiya now says, so therefore in the hadith, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says what? La yastabri'u min al-bawl. He did not take care about the urine and so on. So can you see here that urine is najasa because they're being punished for it? And that is why they say that all the urine is najis. Now, the ulama of fiqh, wallahi, the way they think, you can learn a lot. The ones that say it is not najis says, no. You're mistaken. It is still clean. Because there's another hadith In Al-Bukhari, that refers to exactly the same hadith, but the words used there was kana la yastanzi'u min bawlihi. That the person did not make sure that he's cleansed from urine. So therefore says that first group of people, you see there, this hadith only referred to the human being. It wasn't general. It wasn't about all animals or all urine. It was only that. And therefore the ulama of contemporary says that the most authentic qawl, the most accepted qawl or opinion is that it is not najasa. Number 2, or number 3 at least, on where ulama differ in terms of is it najis or not najis, is it clean or is it unclean, is manni, semen, that is ejaculated when there is sexual activity between husband and wife. Is it clean or is it not clean? Al-Imam Malik, Imam Abu Hanifa, and in a riwayah, Al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal says it's najis. Semen is najis. And the hadith that they use for that, hadith Amr ibn Maymun, قال سألت سليمان ابن يسار عن المني يصيب ثوب الرجل أيغسله أم يغسل الثوب. So he asked somebody about this mani. Is it najis or not? You just wash that part, you wash the whole thing. So he then responded and he said, أخبرتني عائشة أن رسول الله رضي الله تعالى عنها أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يغسل المني ثم يخرج إلى الصلاة في ذلك الثوب وأنا أنظر إلى أثر الغسل. Here goes the hadith from Sayyidah Aisha says that there was mani on the thawb, on the top of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam that he made salah in. So I washed it before he went to go make salah. I washed it and you could still see the wetness of it on the tongues of the shed wash. So then these ulama says, you see, on the basis of that, mani is najis. Right? Then the Shaf'i and others, and also riwayah from Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal says that mani semen is tahir. It is clean. It is not najis. It is pure. And they quoted dalil for that, also hadith of Sayyidah Aisha, radiallahu ta'ala anha. And you will notice whenever something has to do with in-house things or in the family and so on, you will see that ulama always go to those who are in the house of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. When things happen outside, then they will take from the Sahaba because the household didn't always travel with the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. So Sayyidah Aisha says in this hadith, كنت أفرك المني من ثوب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فيصلي فيه. She says, I used to wipe off, now I must, let me use my scarf. That if the mani was on there, she used to rub it so together and wipe it off, and the Nabi alayhi salam would go make salah with that thawb. Right? So therefore, on the basis of that, they say, can you see? If it was najis, the Nabi alayhi salam would not have made salah in that thawb. Right. Another hadith that they quote is Hammam ibn al-Harith radiallahu anhu, and it says, نزل بعائشة ضيف فأمرت له بملحفة صفراء فنام فيها فاحتلم فاستحيا أن يرسلها إليها وبها أثر الاحتلام فغمسها في الماء ثم أرسل بها. فقالت عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها لما أفسد علينا ثوبنا إنما كان يكفيه أن يفركه بأصابعه وربما فركته في ثوب النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بأصابعي. Hammam radiallahu anhu says that there came a guest by Sayyidah Aisha and he was ordered to bring the person a blanket, right? Blanket or quilt, whatever you want to call it. So he brought this yellow blanket And the person was given that, he slept there, and then he had an ihtilam. He had a wet dream. So he was shy to go give the thing back. So what he done was, and this is why I quote because it must have been some special kind of blanket thing. He then took this thing and he washed it in the water because he's now shy. He's not going to give it like that. Washed it in the water and then gave it back. When Sayyidah Aisha received it, she said, why did he spoil the thing now so? It was only necessary for him to take it and just rub off the money that was sitting there, because this is what I've done for the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. So therefore, again, you see that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam's thawb was merely a rub off the money that was there. So those are the two ahadith, or the two opinions of the ulama. Whenever you find yourself where ulama have different opinions, then it means you have a choice to decide which one of the two you want to take. Remember the hadith of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam on the lady, that was bleeding a lot. And the Nabi alayhi says, you can do this one or you can do that one. Now the same in terms of fiqh is where ulama has given the lead on both, then khalas, you decide what you want to do from there. Number four is the saliva of a dog. And that is a sensitive one by us. Right? The Ahnaf and the Shafi'iyya, Al-Imam Ahmad, and many ulama says that the saliva of a dog is najis. What is the dalil on that? واستدلوا بحديث أبي هريرة قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم طهور إناء أحدكم إذا ولغ فيه الكلب أن يغسل 7 مرات أولاهن بالتراب. They say because the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had given the order that if a dog were to lick in your pots, then you wash it 7 times, and one of those times with earth, with sand, and so on. So therefore, on the basis of that, it's najis, says these ulama. Al-Imam Malik is the only one that stands out from all of them. Imam Malik says that a dog is clean, says Imam Malik. So therefore, his saliva is clean. He says, when the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, wash out that part of that utensil where the dog is leaking, was not because the dog was najis, but it was because when he ate and the that's on his tongue is the najis, and not that the saliva is the najis. Right? Number 5, vomiting. To vomit is the najis or is the clean and pure? The Shafi'iyya, Al-Imam Abu Hanifa, Al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal says that vomiting is najis. Vomiting is najis. There's also the Malikiyya that tries to mean that. Some of the Shafi'iyya says no, it is clean. Where does the issue lie? And the same when the person vomits up food. And that is because the argument is that it is no longer in its original state, the food that you ate. It has gone through a change. And that is why it is something that has changed from its original form, just like the food that you eat and becomes feces afterwards, becomes compost afterwards. If those that says that it is clean says as long it is not changed. As long as it's not changed. So sometimes you vomit, or even the children also, they vomit, but there's no food in it. There's nothing in it. Then that would be considered fine. That would be fine. Right. Number 6. Certain insects have no blood flow. And amongst that is mentioned is the fly, the ant, the scorpion, the cockroach, and the flea. That flea that bites your leg at night, looking hard to flow in, whatever the case may be. So majority of ulama says that these, when you kill it, and the spot that it leaves, it's not najis. Says that it is not najis because it doesn't have a blood flow. It doesn't have a blood flow, so therefore it's not najis. Where do we get that from? Hadith Salman radiallahu anhum, أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يا سلمان كل طعام وشراب وقع فيه دابة ليس لها دم فماتت فيه فهو حلال أكله وشربه ووضوءه. That the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had said to Salman, any food or drink where an insect falls in, and it is amongst these insects that doesn't have a blood flow, and it dies in that food or in that drink or in the water where you're going to use for wudu, then the water and the food and the drink is still clean. The water, the food and the drink is still clean. Right? Now you will recognize that because you have also heard the following hadith, where Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu says, أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إذا وقع الذباب في إناء أحدكم فليمكله أو فليغمسه فإن في أحد جناحيه داء وفي الآخر شفاء. You remember the hadith, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says that when a fly falls into the container of any one of you, whether that container is food or whether that container is drink, then the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam says, then that fly that fell in, push him in further. Dip him in, because in the one wing is the illness or germ, and in the other wing is the cure. And in the other wing is the cure. And somebody has done a nice scientific research on that, where they show how the wings of a fly, how it falls up in that water and it bursts, and how it releases then the cure. Amazing. Eh? Now, how would the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam have known that without having a microscope or anything like that to be able to see that? Then also Abu Dawud بسند حسن وإنه يتقي بجناحه الذي فيه الداء فليغمسه كله. That's another hadith in Abu Dawud. وأخرج ابن ماجه عنه عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إذا وقع الذباب في شراب أحدكم فليغمسه ثم لا يطرحه فإن في أحد جناحيه داء وفي الآخر شفاء. That the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam had said in terms of this hadith, that if a fly were to fall into your drink, then push it another time in, because of the germ being in the one wing and the cure in the other wing, and then take it out and throw it one side. So as another dalil and proof in terms of that. Now we come to what is the hukum in terms of cleansing. There are 1, 2, 3 things when you want to make ibadah, then these three things has to be clean. The clothes that you have on, the place where you make your ibadah, and the third one is that the body must be clean. Right? And we look at that. Because these are required in terms of your salah being accepted. If any person makes salah knowing that there is possibly najasa on his clothes or her clothes, then you must know that that salah is batilah. Right? From kitab, what is the proof? What is the dalil? In fiqh, we always ask what is the dalil? What is the proof? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Holy Quran, in Surah Al-Mudaththir, ayah number 4, وَثِيَابَكَ فَطَهِّرْ. Your clothes must be clean. The ulama, the tafsir, that ayah, says that the ayah refers to the clothes being in a clean state. Right? And from the sunnah of the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, تنزهوا من البول فإن عامة عذاب القبر منه. Make sure that you are clean from the splashing of urine. So we are not people that stand and pee anyway, and then there's a possibility that that could splash on your clothes from the ground, especially if you're on concrete and things like that. So the Nabi warns his ummah and says, make sure that you are clean from that. You are clean from that because the main cause of punishment in the qabr is because of that. Main cause of punishment. And عن معاوية رضي الله عنه قال قلت لأم حبيبة هل كان يصلي النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في الثوب الذي يجامع في أهله قالت نعم إذا لم يكن فيه أذى. He says, I asked Hubayba radiallahu ta'ala anha, did the Nabi alayhi salam ever make salah in the thawb that he slept with his wife with, and then he made salah with that thawb? And she said, yes, as long as there is no najasa on it. Right? And then also Jabir radiallahu anhu, Jabir ibn Samra, he says, سمعت رجلا سأل النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أصلي في الثوب الذي أتى فيه أهلي قال نعم إلا أن ترى فيه شيئا فتغسله. You want to plug in the other mic? You want to plug in that? In this hadith, right. So he asked the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. He says, Samra said, I heard a person ask the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, can I make salah in the thawb that I had slept with my wife with? And the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam then says, yes, you can, but if you say something, then you need to wash it. Then the last one I'm going to leave for next week because it's a nice hadith, and the hadith that you've also heard about the man that came in and urinated in the masjid and so on. A very nice, on that, and we'll deal with that when we come there, inshallah ta'ala. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته.